All right, what's happening, y'all? It's your boy Rico from RicoScores, and I'm coming to y'all with a big time mock Monday because today we're taking a look at all of the final national media mock drafts for the Washington Commanders. We're basically doing a mock draft roundup for everything Commanders, everywhere I can find it. Of course, we're going to keep track of all of the top quarterbacks and who ends up winning. I'm going to keep a tally count for each quarterback, so by the end, I'm going to give you the total number that each quarterback got in votes. And just to let you know, J.J. McCarthy got a couple. It's not just Jayden Daniels and Drake May. So we got to dive into who's the heavy favorite. And of course, are there any trades? And even some of these mock drafts, even outside of Commanders land, even a guy like Jordan Reed from ESPN does a 7-round mock draft where he picks every single pick for the entire draft for every team. And of course, we're just going to isolate the Commanders from that. And then of course, at least for the first round picks of every mock draft that we're going to go through today, I'm going to give you like a description of what they said, like their reasoning as to why they pick that certain quarterback, especially for number 2 overall. But before we get into all of that, because I'm super excited, make sure you stiff arm that like button, stiff arm the subscription button, and stiff arm the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Again, we taking over everywhere, so make sure you go follow me on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. All of those are in the link in the description of this video and every video, every live stream, all of that type of stuff, man. I really appreciate y'all for staying tuned and being so supportive. I think I'm gonna try to knock out a film session by tonight, like sometime. It's gonna come out like after 12 a.m. type of thing, so stay tuned for that. I'm coming with 2 of my own mock drafts, so a final what would I do, like what I want the Commanders to do, and then a final predictive one where I pick picks based on what I think they will end up doing based off of their top 30 visits and all of the reported interest that they've had so far in certain draft prospects. So stay tuned for all of that. And I also will do a live stream before the draft for y'all to call in and voice your opinions. That will probably happen maybe like Tuesday, tomorrow as in Tuesday or Wednesday. Stay tuned for that. And of course, I will be live streaming the entire, at least first 5 rounds of the draft. And my boy Shay, who's a Patriots fan, is pulling up for round 1, so you gotta make sure you pull up for that at least, because we pick second and the Patriots pick third. And of course, I'm analyzing every pick from every team because I just love the draft. I'm a Commanders fan, but I'm really just a draft guy. That's my thing. I'm into recruiting for high school, going into college, and then draft prospects going from college to NFL. But I'm sorry, I've already gone on too long of a rant and wasted y'all time. Let's go ahead and get to the video, man. Let's get it. Adam. All right, so let's start with Ari Myrov. I hope that's how you pronounce his name. That's at My Sports Update on Twitter. And he let us know this is his first and only mock draft. He only does 1 mock draft for the entire draft season, and this is his only one. He has us picking Jayden Daniels. He made sure that he said, fit-wise, the Washington Commanders have taken a unique approach to their quarterback search involving many voices, including former Golden State Warriors Bob Myers and minority owner Magic Johnson, among others. The prevailing belief for weeks has been that the coaching staff, including Coach Dan Quinn and offensive coordinator Cliff Kingsbury, are most enthusiastic about Heisman Trophy winner Jayden Daniels. And I wonder where he's getting that information from. If there's a sudden change in the final week, it wouldn't be something new for GM Adam Peters. He was in San Francisco when the organization pivoted from considering Mac Jones to selecting Trey Lance in the final week before the 2021 NFL draft. That's an interesting note right there. But I still believe it'll end up being Jayden Daniels. Now we have Chad Reuter of NFL.com. And again, these guys are doing mock drafts for all of the teams. We're just isolating the Commanders. Of course, Caleb Williams going number 1 overall, going straight to the Commanders 2nd overall. He has us picking Jayden Daniels as well. He said Daniels' maturation as a quarterback this past year should land him in Washington. His performance with the Tigers in 2023 provided a tremendous boost to his draft stock, helping him to separate from the pack and project as a future starter. While his electric running style definitely turned heads last season, it was his improvement operating within the pocket, especially over the second half of the season, that really impressed. Offensive coordinator Cliff Kingsbury will love working with Daniels. Then you also have Charles McDonald and Nate Tice of Yahoo Sports collaborating on a mock draft. And then for us, second overall, they have us taking LSU quarterback Jayden Daniels. They said Daniels has become more of a favorite to go to Washington, but after a recent top 30 visit / battle royale with other quarterbacks, this might be more up in the air than recently assumed. We're still going with Daniels here, who can hit the ground running with the solid surroundings the Commanders have on offense, and he'll liven up the franchise with his dynamic play. Then you also have Ryan Wilson of CBS Sports. He also chose Jayden Daniels for us. Again, these are not what people are saying that they want to happen. This is them predicting what will happen. Because I do want to note that a lot of people who are picking Jayden Daniels throughout this video like Drake May more and feel like they have said weeks ago, days ago, that they feel like the Commanders should take Drake May, but we are now to the point where we're trying to predict what will happen since the draft is only a few days away. Moving on to Ryan Wilson of CBS Sports, he has us taking Jayden Daniels as well. He said, no player improved more over the last 12 months than Jayden Daniels. He has a big arm, throws with touch to all 3 levels, and has the athleticism to rip off 50-yard runs and make it look easy. And then you have a group of Pro Football Focus writers. It doesn't say exactly who is attached to it personally, like which name, but it's just from the Pro Football Focus website and organization. They have us taking Drake May, and this is as of today as well. Most of these mock drafts were literally done either today or at worst within like the past few days. None of these are over a week old. I should have also prefaced that at the beginning of this video, but this one is literally from today, Monday, April 22nd. They picked UNC quarterback Drake May. They said Washington has been looking for his franchise quarterback for decades now, and the new regime takes his next swing with Drake May. May has all of the tools to become an NFL franchise quarterback. He was elite over the middle of the field in 2023, earning a 94.8 passing grade on throws in between the college hashes, the best in the entire FBS. Then you have The Ringer. You have Danny Kelly of The Ringer, and you should go check out their mock draft because the way it looks aesthetically is so pretty with the way it's structured and designed. It's crazy, very eye-catching. But they have Jayden Daniels to the Washington Commanders second overall. They said the Commanders have taken a similar tack to the Bears in free agency, bolstering their skilled position groups with experienced veterans who can ease the transition for an incoming rookie signal caller. That's a great point. The Bears did everything in their power to potentially make their team as QB friendly for Caleb Williams, and I feel like the Commanders, we didn't necessarily trade for a Keenan Allen, but I think we did a pretty good job with picking up Austin Eckler, adding other pieces as well, Zach Ertz as your safety blanket, and then I'm pretty sure we're going to do everything we can in the draft to make sure we get a starting left tackle for said quarterback and also some more weapons for him as well. But continuing on with what The Ringer said, Washington added running back Austin Eckler and tight end Zach Ertz and signed a couple of offensive linemen, including center Tyler Biadasz, bolstering an offense that already included receivers Terry McLaurin and Jahan Dotson. That should help Daniels hit the ground running. I love the sound of that, man. I would love to win as soon as possible. It's not necessarily that important to me, but it would be nice if we can come out year one making the playoffs. That would be lovely, man. Just me personally, that's what I would prefer. Then you have Peter Schrager of Good Morning Football on NFL Network. He picked Jayden Daniels as well. He said after skipping measurements in Indianapolis, the reigning Heisman Trophy winner pleasantly surprised folks at LSU's Pro Day by weighing in at a pretty robust 210 pounds. As of today, I think Daniels is the pick at number 2 overall. And then Brad Crawford of 247 Sports also picked Jayden Daniels to the Washington Commanders at second overall. He said the reigning Heisman winner finished with 3,812 yards passing this season and 40 touchdowns to go along with 1,134 yards on the ground and 10 scores as last season's best player in college football at LSU. Jayden Daniels said recently he wasn't sure where he stands with the Commanders and has had deep conversations with other teams, so there's a chance another franchise moves up to take Daniels in this spot as long as Washington is left with quarterback opportunities elsewhere. So I believe this is the only person out of any of these mock drafts that even briefly mentions an opportunity for us to potentially trade back. So just to warn you, that's about it for that. Then you also have Eric Edholm of NFL Network. He picked Jayden Daniels as well. Again, most of these are today. This is one that's today as well. He said, I got a little cute in my last mock draft, trying to jump the snap count by jumping JJ McCarthy up to number 2 as a way to get ahead of the curve. I sensed he was going to rise to this general area eventually, but it feels like Daniels is the Commander's man right now. His age and experience makes sense for a team with Marcus Mariota as the presumed other starting option. Then you move on to Nate Davis at USA Today. He also picked LSU quarterback Jayden Daniels. He said, some late developing smoke over the past week regarding his interest/de-interest is playing just outside the nation's capital, though that's eminently more likely that Daniels' apparent mutual affection for the Raiders. No quarterback in this draft possesses the 2023 Heisman winner's elite combination of running and passing ability. Daniels capable of a back-breaking bolt to the end zone via land or air. Given the multiple ways he can stress a defense, not to mention the state of Washington's offensive line, seems logical to go for the highly mobile passer who can increasingly rely on his passing prowess as his blocking improves. Interesting point there as well. Then you also have Vinny Iyer from Sporting News picking Jayden Daniels for us as well. He said Daniels has drawn comparisons to Lamar Jackson with his effortless big play running and dangerous deep arm. That should also put him in the same vein as the 2019 number 1 overall pick, Kyler Murray, who the Commanders' offensive coordinator, Cliff Kingsbury, was hired to help succeed right away with the Cardinals. And I feel like that was a point that was being brought up like months ago, maybe a few weeks ago, but I haven't heard it recently, and that boy, Mr. Iyer over there, brought it back. And then you have Joseph Acosta from SB Nation. He picked UNC quarterback Drake Maye as of today, April 22nd as well. There's no analysis there. It's just a bunch of picks with that one. Then when you go to Fox Sports, you have David Hellman and Cameron Vitale working together, collabing on one singular mock draft. David Hellman is a Dallas Cowboys insider, and Carmen Vitale, she's an NFC North reporter. And in their mock draft, they have us taking Drake Maye 2nd overall. He said, if I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. But I just don't buy the Jayden Daniels smoke with Washington. I think Drake Maye's tantalizing upside makes him worth the investment at number 2. And I'm not going to let pre-draft smoke screens throw me off. So he's picking Drake Maye, and he's sticking to it despite all of the rumors and reports that's going on right now. And then also Charles Davis of NFL Network was asked what the Commanders will do with the 2nd overall pick. He said, quote, I'm leaning towards Jayden Daniels. Dan Quinn is the new head coach. He's going to get a vote. Dan will lobby pretty hard in favor of Jayden Daniels, unquote. And that is kind of the point of view that it seems, because first of all, Dan Quinn, I keep hearing, and I do agree that since Dan Quinn is a defensive-minded head coach, the guy that's the toughest the game of playing against is the most mobile guy, that's Jayden Daniels. So he probably prefers him because of that. And then on top of that, like I talked about in my video, I think not this past video, but the whatever video I came out with within the last couple of days where I talked about this, I'm all over the place just busting out videos left and right and working on other videos that I haven't even recorded yet, so I've lost track. But either way, I brought up the point that coaches tend to go with the guy with the presumed higher floor so that they can win now, because they have a shorter coaching span, basically a job lifespan, than a GM who may go with the higher upside guy, because general managers tend to stay hired longer than head coaches. You know, one general manager can survive several head coaches, so they're more likely to go with the higher ceiling guy that may not be ready to play like day one, whereas Dan Quinn is probably going to prefer the guy who most people see Jayden Daniels as the guy that's ready to start immediately, and some people see Drake Maye as the higher ceiling guy, whatever. It just seems like Dan Quinn, for multiple reasons, I've already just given you 2 right there alone, would prefer Jayden Daniels, and if he has a say in it, then he probably will influence it to be Jayden Daniels. But I can also see why Adam Peters as a general manager may prefer to stick with a guy like Drake Maye, who may take a little bit longer to develop and be playable. Maybe you have to start Marcus Mariota week 1 if you drafted Drake Maye. But then again, Adam Peters even said it himself in his press conference that he is not taking a quarterback that's going to take multiple years to develop. So based on how he views Drake Maye, maybe he sees Drake Maye as a guy that can start day 1, and then that comment doesn't even apply to him. So we can move on from there. And then even Daniel Jeremiah has changed his mind as of today, Monday, April 22nd. And this was the craziest one out of any mock draft that we're talking about today. Even though this isn't a mock draft, this is probably the biggest breaking news, because Daniel Jeremiah has been saying for months that his pick was Drake Maye. He felt felt like that's who the Commanders should get, and he also felt like that's who the Commanders will get because he's referred to several times that he knows Adam Peters very well with his time at the 49ers and things like that. And then even as recently, just a few days ago, still picked Drake Maye again. And then I don't know what happened, but as of today, on the Pat McAfee show, Daniel Jeremiah made an appearance and said, quote, "Everything in my gut was telling me Drake Maye to Washington, but as you're coming down to the home stretch, everybody I've talked to is telling me it's going to be Jayden Daniels," unquote. And again, that's Daniel Jeremiah from his Move the Sticks podcast, but he was on the Pat McAfee show today. That's crazy news. That's like converting the top op from the other side and convincing them to come join you on your side, because I thought Daniel Jeremiah was, if anybody, gonna stick to his Drake Maye pick throughout the entire draft process. Again, he's been on the Drake Maye train for months now, never switched up when most other people did. Even the bet nod switched. Daniel Jeremiah was standing firm literally until just earlier today, this morning. That's crazy. And then lastly, before we start to move on to the 7-round mock drafts, so I'm not only going to tell you who we pick at number 2 overall, but I'll also give you some notable players that we may pick in other rounds that some people have us taking. And of course, half of these are like Commanders fans, Commanders reporters doing these mock drafts, but some of them aren't. Some of these are guys from The Athletic, from ESPN, like Jordan Reed and things like that. So these there are a few outside people with these 7-round mock drafts. So it's not like we just have a guy that's biased towards the Commanders, wants the Commanders to have the best draft ever, and picking the best players possible for them. These are guys that are doing 7-round mock drafts for the entire NFL, and then these are just the picks that the Washington Commanders happen to walk away with. And before we move on, though, Chris Sims said on his show sometime earlier today that when he asked the source that he really trusted, the only thing that he got back is that Drake Maye will not be the choice at number 2. I don't know how much I trust that source. He seems to really trust it. He may not even have a source. He could just be flat out lying on his show to generate clicks. But that is interesting that the guy didn't even necessarily say who we would pick. He just flat out said it will not be Drake Maye. But of course, most people that are probably watching this video like, that's Chris Sims, whatever. But I just thought that was really interesting. I wanted to mention that again with all of these types of videos that I'm doing, especially when it pertains to these quarterbacks before the draft happens. I'm just giving you all of the information I have. You come away with your own conclusions. I'm not trying to run any agenda. I'm not trying to convince you one way or another. I'm just giving you all of the information that's out there on the internet. Because, hey man, if I wasn't a Commanders YouTuber, I would hope somebody would put a video like this together so I wouldn't have to go all around Google, Twitter, and everywhere. And some of these you have to pay, you have to be subscribed for. Like The Athletic, I'm subscribed to The Athletic, so that's why I'm able to give y'all what they picked for us in mock drafts as well. So if I were a Commanders fan, I would want a video like this. That's why I felt like I should do a video like this. Now moving on to the 7-round mock drafts. We got Dane Brugler of The Athletic. They have us taking Jayden Daniels 2nd overall. They said the draft winds will continue to swirl in unpredictable directions up until draft night. Right now, though, the buzz is pointing towards Daniels being the pick at number 2. Truth is, new Washington general manager Adam Peters and head coach Dan Quinn aren't tipping their hands, so everyone is still guessing at this point, and I completely believe that. I mean, no matter what sources people say that they have, I'm not sure if I believe anybody. I'm gonna let you know that right now. And then also, when you're continuing on with the draft, they have us taking Patrick Paul, 36th overall, then Ennis Rackshaw Jr., the cornerback, 40th overall, then Adizak Isaac, the edge rusher from Penn State, then the tackle Roger Rosengarten, then wide receiver Brendan Rice, then tight end Tip Ryman, then linebacker Edifon Olafoshoyi Oyo. Whoo, he got me with that one, boy. Whoo, boy, we just gonna call him EU. My boy EU from Washington, yes sir. And then Dijon Anthony, safety from Ole Miss. That is Dan Brugler's mock draft for the Washington Commanders, 7-round mock draft. Then you have Jordan Reed for ESPN. Again, this is a 7-round mock draft for the entire NFL, but we're just going to focus on the Commanders picks. Number 2 overall, he has us picking Jayden Daniels as well. And this is yet another guy that's on record saying that he prefers Drake May. If he were the Washington Commanders, he would take Drake May. He thinks the Commanders should take Drake May. Feels like Drake May is the better quarterback, especially long term. But even he, in his predictive final mock draft, 7-round mock draft, again, he's picking for every team all 7 rounds. So I know he had a busy last couple of weeks, even just trying to put this together. He picked Jayden Daniels. He said this pick will likely come down to Daniels and UNC's Drake May. But considering the Commanders' veteran additions this offseason, and that's a good point, they seem to believe they can win right now while still establishing a foundation for the future. Daniels is the guy who gives them the best chance for early success, showing excellent deep ball passing and rushing ability. He averaged 11 yards per pass attempt last season and threw for 40 touchdowns. And then continuing with the Washington Commanders, our next pick, he has us selecting offensive tackle Tyler Guyton from Oklahoma with the 30th overall pick. He has us trading the Ravens, our 36th and 78th overall picks, to move up to 30th to get Tyler Guyton. He said a projected trade, Washington jumps back up into round 1. Now, if we jump back up into round 1, I want to go to the late teens, early 20s to get my boy Amarius Mims. That's my dream case scenario right there. But there's also other tackles that I would like. Like, I think Tyler Guyton can end up being a really good tackle as well. But his explanation for this, keep an eye on for Washington late on Thursday night. I'm hearing the Commanders might consider trading back into the first round for an offensive tackle. And because I have 5 off the board, this might be a good spot to jump up on one of the final 2 offensive tackles in my top 32 rankings. Baltimore, meanwhile, can slide back 6 spots and add a day 2 selection for its troubles. Really interesting strategy right there. Kinda like it. Then 40th overall, he has us taking Adisa Isaac, edge rusher from Penn State as well. That's now our only 2 7-round mock drafts we've done so far. Both of them have us taking Adisa Isaac from Penn State, the edge rusher. And I mean, a lot of people do like him even more than Chop Robinson. They like Chop Robinson's ceiling, but Adisa Isaac is the guy with the higher floor. So it's kind of like pick, that it just depends on which you like. Both Penn State edge rushers, very interesting. Then with the next pick, 67th overall, my Georgia Bulldog, cornerback Kamari Lassiter. I'm telling you right now, he is one of the best corners in this draft. I just can't believe there's a chance he can make it to our 67th overall pick, but it is what it is. Either way, his explanation is corner help is needed, especially because Benjamin St-Juste is only under contract for 1 more season, and Lassiter is tough and physical. He broke up 8 passes last season. Kamari Lassiter is easily the best corner we've had in the Kirby Smart era. I'm still confused as to what people aren't seeing here, but it is what it is. And then 100th overall, he has us taking Marshawn Lloyd, the running back out of USC. He said, we close out day 2 with Lloyd, who will become more competition for a running back room in Washington that already includes Brian Robinson Jr. and newly signed Austin Eckler. Lloyd rushed for 18 touchdowns over the past 2 seasons. Also, I can't believe I just skipped the whole explanation for Tyler Guyton. We didn't even, we didn't read the Tyler Guyton or the Adisa Isaac pick explanations at all. So going back to Tyler Guyton, the Commanders have a hole at left tackle after releasing Charles Leno Jr., and new GM Adam Peters might not want to wait until round 2 to fix it. That's especially true after we had Washington take a new franchise quarterback, Jayden Daniels, at number 2 overall. It has to protect him now. Remember, Washington allowed 65 sacks last season, tied for the second most. Yes, Guyton has played only right tackle during his career, but he has the movement skills and upside to transition to the other side. Guyton thrives in space with really good footwork and quickness. And then the Adisa Isaac pick, he said Washington brought in veterans Dante Fowler Jr., Dorrance Armstrong, and Cleveland Farrell this offseason. But how about some youth at that edge position? Isaac can grow into a starting role here. He has great closing bursts and had 7.5 sacks last season, which is, I think Chop Robinson only had like 3 or 2, 4, something crazy. So again, Adisa Isaac, the higher floor, Chop Robinson, obviously the higher ceiling. I personally prefer Chop Robinson, but I don't think he'll make it all the way to the 40th overall pick that he has us taking Adisa Isaac. So I'm cool with that as well. Then 139th overall, he has us taking, I always mess up this name, Anaya Smith, wide receiver from Texas A&M, and I've watched quite a bit of his tape, but I still don't exactly know how to pronounce that first name. Then he also has us taking 222nd overall, Kingsley Agawkin, the center from Florida. Interesting. Now moving on, you also have a Ben Standig 7-round mock draft, but this one is purely only Commanders. He's doing it only for the Commanders. He's not doing it for the entire NFL. He has us taking Jayden Daniels, 2nd overall, and he has a long explanation for this, so we're not going to necessarily even read that one, but he does have an interesting trade. He has us moving backwards in the 2nd round. Instead of going from the 2nd round to the late first or mid first, he actually has us taking our 36th pick and 152nd, giving it to Atlanta for their 43rd and 109th and a 2025 2nd rounder. Now, if the tackle that we really want is gone and for some reason we don't want to trade up to get a guy like Amarius Mims or something like that, then I would actually prefer to go ahead and trade back out of that 36th overall pick, because to give away a 36 and a 152 and get back a 43, 109 and a 2025 2nd rounder, I would do that. I hope that's not what happens. I want to trade up for Amarius Mims, of course, but that's really interesting. Then with the 40th pick, he has us taking Roger Rosengarten, the offensive tackle from Washington. Then he has us taking Marshawn Nealon, the defensive end from Western Michigan. Then Blake Fisher, the tackle from Notre Dame. Then Mekhi Wingo, defensive tackle from LSU. Then Zach Zinter, the guard from Michigan. And then Brendan Rice, the wide receiver from USC, and then Elijah Jones, cornerback from Boston College. And we're just now getting to round 5. All of those picks were within the first 5 rounds of the draft. That's why I can see that actually potentially being a pretty good move for us. And then the final pick of the draft, he has us taking linebacker Tyrese Knight from UTEP. And I've seen that connection before, so I'm not surprised. Then you have Dean Jones of Rigo's Rag. He has us taking Jayden Daniels as well, 2nd overall. He has a really long explanation. Again, we'll be here all day if we read everybody's long explanation, so we're going to go ahead and move on. Then he has us trading up to 18th overall to get Olu Fashanu, the tackle from Penn State. I love that. So trading back up into the 1st round, you give me Olu Fashanu, my fault. That's the better way to pronounce it. I keep hearing. Or Amarius Mims, we killed the draft. I'm done here. I'm absolutely done. He didn't even explain exactly which picks we had to give up to do it. I don't care. Find a way to come away with Jayden Daniels and Olu Fashanu or Amarius Mims, and we killed it. I don't even care after that. Then he has us taking TJ Tampa, the cornerback from Iowa State. Then Ricky Pearsall, the wide receiver from Florida Gators. Hey, buddy, different. If you're not hip to Ricky Pearsall, go ahead and lock in. I'm a Georgia fan. I hate Florida, but every now and then Florida has somebody that I just can't help but acknowledge. He's that one this time, man. He makes it to round 3. I feel like you got to take him. Then he has us taking Theo Johnson, arguably the most athletic tight end to come out of the draft ever in NFL history, in round 5, the Penn State tight end. I really like that pick. Then Xavier Thomas, the edge rusher from Clemson, really interesting. And then also lastly, Satoa, I believe that's how you pronounce that, Lomia, the offensive lineman from Utah. And then moving on, you also have Zach Selby, who literally works for the Commanders. This is literally on the Commanders.com website directly through them. And he did a 7-round mock draft. He has us taking JJ McCarthy, 2nd overall. And I guess because this is the first JJ McCarthy pick, we can read some of this explanation here, but maybe not the entire thing, because this is also really long as well. He said JJ McCarthy doesn't have the hype surrounding him like some of the other top quarterbacks on the board. He's not a dynamic playmaker with his legs like Jayden Daniels. He doesn't have the prototypical height like Drake May, and he certainly doesn't have the buzz surrounding him like Caleb Williams. It's clear, however, that there's something about the Michigan quarterback that teams seem to like. He's shot up draft boards since the combine, so much so that he's considered in the same group as Daniels and May. Monson believes the hype to the point that he thinks he'll be the 2nd quarterback off the board. From the very outset of the draft process, there has been talk that the NFL likes JJ McCarthy more than the public or the media, Monson wrote. In a year where all of the prospects outside of Williams have their concerns, I'll buy that smoke and say Washington grabs the guy with NFL tape. And there's even more explanation than that. There's stats and things like that. We're going to go ahead and move on. Then you have Connor Allen of BleacherNation.com. He also picked JJ McCarthy, and his explanation goes even further down. But there is a simple why McCarthy here, just a quick 2 paragraphs. He said the Commanders seem to be trending towards a more traditional quarterback mold. And the argument for JJ McCarthy is that Adam Peters had that much success with Brock Purdy. JJ McCarthy is literally just a more talented Brock Purdy. So you can see the argument there, especially if we didn't have the second overall pick. I would pretty much say JJ McCarthy is a lock to us. Like, let's say we had like the 4th or 5th pick, I would think JJ McCarthy was a certified lock to us. But we have the second overall pick, so no, I don't want JJ McCarthy. I want Jayden Daniels and Drake Maye. Please, I'm leaning towards Jayden Daniels. Drake Maye is my easily close second. JJ McCarthy is a pretty decent third. I mean, Michael Penix is right up there. If it weren't for the injury concerns, Michael Penix would probably be right up there with JJ McCarthy for me. But either way, continuing on with the article, head coach Dan Quinn has found success with smart quarterbacks like Matt Ryan with pocket awareness, decision making over pure athleticism. McCarthy fits that mold perfectly, even though he does have underrated athleticism. McCarthy has a high ceiling and could develop into a franchise quarterback under the right tutelage. Offensive coordinator Cliff Kingsbury is known for his aggressive passing schemes, and McCarthy's skill set could thrive in that system. The Commanders also have a talented young receiving group with Terry McLaurin and Jahan Dotson. Surrounding McCarthy with these weapons will be crucial for his early development. Then he also goes on to say like other considerations and talks about Jayden Daniels, why he could be a good pick, why Drake Maye could be a good pick. But it's a really long article. You can go check that out if you really want to hear more details about that. Then you have Brian Manning from Commanders Wire. So this is a Commanders reporter here. He picked Jayden Daniels second overall, and then goes on to somehow Jordan Morgan, tackle from Arizona, makes it 36th overall. If that's the case, I will definitely gladly take that. Then Jaden Hicks, the safety out of Washington. Then Xavier Legette, round 3. I'm gonna go ahead and let you know this now. That's not happening. I would love for it to happen. That would be an A+, still at a draft level pick right there. But he has us getting Xavier Legette 67th overall. Then Ohio State tight end Cade Stover. Y'all know I'm a fan of his. Then Ole Miss edge Cedric Johnson. Then Oregon running back Bucky Irvin in the 5th round. I would love that. I've literally done that in my mock drafts. Then Kansas offensive lineman Dominic Pooney in the 5th round as well. That's another guy I've mocked to us a few times. So this is like, I mean, this literally sounds like I did this mock draft right here. I'm not going to lie. This is crazy. I like it. Then Louisville cornerback Storm Duck. So that's a really interesting 7th-round mock draft right there. And then you have Mark Tyler of Hogs Haven. And then he actually does have explanations, quick ones real quick, but he has us getting Drake Maye, then Kingsley Samataya, I believe that's how you pronounce that. That's the tackle from BYU. I just call him Kingsley S and call it a day. That's what I do when it comes to these names. Then Xavier Legette, then Theo Johnson, then Brandon Coleman, then Cam Hart, Curtis Jacobs, Jonah Ellis, and Mark Perry. That's a really good draft, man. Again, Xavier Legette to me is literally like, I mean, you can look at it at one angle, maybe like a Deebo Samuel, but I feel like he's more of a pure receiver. So I think his closest comp is to like an AJ Brown. I really don't see him making it past that 2nd-round pick that the Panthers have. That's their first pick of the draft. I can easily see them going to go get him to try to replace what they lost in DJ Moore. And remember, they lost Curtis Samuel to us a few years ago. So, I mean, they brought in Adam Thielen, but they still need an Xavier Legette. And so now, just to do a complete total of the tallies, out of all of the mock drafts that I've found so far on the internet, it's 2 for JJ McCarthy, 4 for Drake Maye, and 16 for Jayden Daniels, just in case if y'all weren't keeping track. Also, even though it goes without saying, 0 trade backs. You had one guy mention it, kinda, but he didn't even necessarily predict it and actually put it in his mock draft. But that's 2 for McCarthy, 4 for Drake Maye, 16 for Jayden Daniels, and 0 trade backs. And lastly, before we get up out of here, NFL mock draft database, they still say that they prefer Drake Maye, so I guess going back, you can add their tally to Drake Maye to take it up to 5. But at the same time, now, this is the first time that I've gone on their website in months and seen that Jayden Daniels wins their pie chart right now, takes up the majority of the pie chart, and he has finally passed Drake Maye for receiving the most predictive votes out of all of the mock drafts everywhere. NFL mock draft database. How many mock drafts do they include in this, man? It's something ridiculous. Like, it's a ridiculous number of mock drafts out there, man. I think it's somewhere, I think they have 50. I think it says 50 mock drafts included in these. No, actually, it's above 400 because it's like 10, and then you see and 420 more. So they have 430 mock drafts included in this pie chart, and Jayden Daniels wins the majority again for the first time that I've seen. So then they put at the bottom, trendy pick, Jayden Daniels, quarterback out of LSU. And again, that's my first time ever coming to their website and seeing that in months. So just like Daniel Jeremiah changed his mind. Apparently, so many mock drafts have changed their mind that even NFL mock draft database with their 430 mock drafts have now changed their pick to Jayden Daniels as well. And lastly, also before we super duper get up out of here, the very last thing, apparently Jayden Daniels is now the heavy favorite to be the second overall pick. He, like, a couple of weeks after the combine, he became the heavy favorite, and then he just kept rising and rising and rising. Then, like, this past week, especially after the Top Golf gate that what happened, Drake May closed the gap on him. Now suddenly, as of today, literally as of Monday, April 22nd, now Jayden Daniels has a big gap again. Now you have Jayden Daniels negative 330, Drake May plus 275, and JJ McCarthy plus 1,000. So we're basically back to what we were just as of like over a week ago in the couple of weeks previous to that. So hey, I don't know what's going on. I don't know why it's flip-flopping back and forth again. Like somebody said in one of their mock drafts, and I completely agree, I don't believe anybody knows what Adam Peters and Dan Quinn are actually thinking. So I don't know where this information is coming from, but hey, there must have been enough information for Daniel Jeremiah to finally change his pick, so who knows? But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about everything discussed in this video. Please stiff arm that like button, stiff arm the subscription button, stiff arm the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Let me know in the comment section right now. If you had to put your life savings on it, who do you think will be the pick? Also, of course, include who you want the pick to be if it's different. If you think Jayden Daniels will be the pick, but you prefer Drake May, make sure you say that in the comment section. But I mainly want to see what everybody's predictive picks are right now, because that's the point of the draft season we're in right now. We've already debated and gone back and forth about which quarterbacks we prefer. Now we're on to, with only 4 days away from the draft, I mean less than technically 4 days away, because right now it's 9:30 p.m. Eastern time. The draft starts at 8 p.m. By now, in 4 days, we would have already have picked our quarterback. Hopefully we're already putting in some motion to trade back up into the first round for a left tackle. But either way, let me know what you predict will happen with that second overall pick, which quarterback we'll take. Let me know how you feel about all of these mock drafts, if you agree or disagree with any of the opinions in there. And of course, man, I really appreciate y'all. Make sure you do not leave this video without leaving a like. Stay tuned for all of the content I'm coming to hit y'all with, and I really appreciate y'all. I'm gonna catch y'all later. I'm out.